Hi, friends. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Katie, and welcome to the Okay But Did You Know Pedantic Book Club. Normally, we're a podcast where we talk about the TV and media that we love with a friend who's never seen it before, but once a quarter, we stop and discuss a book with our book club members on Patreon that has either been adapted into a series or film or a retelling. This quarter, our pick was The Crimson Crown by Heather Walter, which was nominated by our patron and friend of the podcast, Sammy.
The Crimson Crown is an evil queen from Snow White origin story kind of retelling. It's Walter's third book, which was released in August of 2024, and it is the first in a duology, which will culminate in the sequel, The Witch Queen, which will come out in April of 2026. I'm sure we both have a lot of thoughts, and these are real fresh thoughts because we both finished this book within the last 2 days. We're really on top of things, friends. We're doing great.
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. The world's just on fire. It's okay.
Valid.
For multiple reasons, one of which being we're currently in a heat wave as we record this.
Hey, we got fans.
We're good. We're good to go. So before we get into all of our lovely chatting about this phenomenal book, let's go over a synopsis as the best I could synopsize this book. Let's go. Eilith has known that she will eventually need to make her vow to her coven and take her place as her mother's second. But when the time comes, she thinks she sees the spirit of her late sister reaching back for her from beyond the veil. Determined to get her back to the land of the living, Eilith needs to find the Bloodstones, the objects that uphold the veil between this world and the forces of evil known as Malum that exist in the land of the spirits. And to do that, she'll need to venture to the palace of the White King. Though she makes her way to her destination, it's not without its perils. She must now handle courtly life, escaping unwanted advances from the king, who insists their fate is intertwined, and the rekindling of her relationship with her former love, if she hopes to reach her goal. As she gets closer to completing her plan, the forces of Malum continue to tug on her soul, and she must decide whether what she desires is worth it, or if she must forge her own path and become the witch queen she was always meant to be. That is the best I could synopsize. I mean, obviously, this
it's
isn't
good. I don't know why you're.
It's a good synopsis. Again, it's not the back cover copy. I'm always very proud of myself when I do these. That's not. I took inspiration from the back cover copy, but it's not that. I write these myself, or we write these ourselves, depending on who does the episode. I'm doing this one, and I'm also doing the next one, which we'll talk about later. But
I've had a good break lately.
Yeah, well, because we keep doing books we've been doing books that I've read before. So because you did Little Thieves, and then what? I can't remember what book we did before that.
Neon Gods?
Was Neon Gods before that?
I think so. I think it was Neon Gods.
Seriously?
Little Thieves.
I feel like I'm always missing
because Little
books.
Thieves was January.
Yeah, no, it was. Well, yeah, we read it in January. Like, I always feel like
I
I'm
think
missing
Neon
things.
Gods was the fall.
Damn. Well, I just remember we did that over the summer. My brain is just like.
Was there one between those?
I'm checking The Hobbit.
Oh yeah, we did do that.
I was like, well, we're definitely missing a book here. So we so far we've done Jurassic Park, Neon Gods, The Hobbit, Little Thieves, and Crimson Crown.
And next is Vampires.
And next is Lucy Undying by Kirsten White, which is so exciting.
Oh, we're on a good little track. I mean, we've done dinosaurs, we've done Greek gods, we've done
Hobbits,
and
dragons.
Hobbits and dragons. We've done this is cool.
We've done more godly magic systems and fairy tale retellings, more fairy tale retellings, and then vampires. It's a good little book club we have. We promise
we are doing good. We are doing great. This is all honestly, it's really cool. What we've been able to do.
Yeah,
I like this.
Yeah, this is great. So yeah, I did the best I could synopsize the book. Like I say, this isn't a spoiler-free podcast for the book club. Obviously, this is the book club, so we talk about it. But I feel like the synopsis should still be as close to the vagueness you get from back cover copy, while still holding true to the book.
Yeah,
as best we can. So
with also obviously we will be spoiling things for everybody, but
we're going to be talking about this obviously. Well, I mean, I feel like the ending of my synopsis is her becoming the Witch Queen.
Which we will talk about at the end, but
this is an evil queen from Snow White retelling. It also involves elements of witchiness and also Anne Boleyn inspiration. So there's a lot going on here, but ironically with this book, so I told you that I knew a little bit. I couldn't find an exact post of where she talked about this, but I think Sammy, who nominated this book, will concur with me on this statement. I think I'm remembering this correctly. This was actually Heather Walter's first book. So
Oh.
the version we get is not the version that she wrote originally, because before this, she had written a Sleeping Beauty retelling that was more of a Maleficent kind of origin story, that dark fairy thing, which is
Mhm.
a duology called Malice and Misrule. That's the one that sold first. The Crimson Crown was, I believe, the book that got her agent, but it needed a lot of work
Wow.
before it would sell. And in the meantime, she wrote Malice, and that sold. And then this one went through a lot of iterations and a lot of changing. Like, ultimately, she says the version that we see is not the first version that she had, which is most writing.
That is most writing. Like most books you read, that is every single book you read. They've gone through
Yeah.
most likely multiple versions of
Yeah.
themselves.
Absolutely. Everything. You're never reading a first draft, but
If you are, you're probably not reading a great book.
probably not. But this was her first book. This was the book that I think got her agent.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Which is great. It means the agent really did see her potential.
Yeah.
Which is, can I find one of those?
Be nice.
Right.
So what'd you think of The Crimson Crown?
I really enjoyed it. I read most of it yesterday.
Fair. Yes, you did. Do you read like 60% of it yesterday?
Yes, I did.
Nice.
I sat down like right after my son's birthday party at like, I want to say it was like 5, 6 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I remember sending out like a snap to like you and a couple other people like, yep, 362 or 365 pages. Let's go. I finished at like 11:30 last night because I had interruptions because I'm a mom.
Yeah. I think I gave myself a pretty good structure with this because I put it off until the last minute, as one does.
You got a lot more structure than me. That shows our methodology right there, though.
Yeah.
Explain that.
I figured it out because there's 56 chapters in this of relatively the same length, give or take, the way that it's together. And so I figured if I read about 11 chapters a day, I'd be done in 5 days. So I did that, and then Saturday, but I even told you this, like, I feel like once I get to chapter 4, like, when I get to, like, where I'm supposed to stop on Saturday, I feel like I'm at the point of no return because I was.
Yeah.
So at that point, I just kept reading the rest of the day and finished it on Saturday. So I read this in 4 days.
I kept trying to read it, but parenting kept getting in the way, and I had to go to work and all these other things. So it definitely turned into I'm running out of time.
I did compare this actually with how long it took me to read it the first time, because this was a reread for me because I did read this last year when it came out. Last year, it took me 12 days.
Well, damn.
I mean, I was doing other things. Also, you ended up listening to the audiobook at some point, right?
Some of it, not all of it. Some of it. Last night I was trying to tandem, and then I reached the point that I was like, I'm reading faster than the narration. If I speed up the narration anymore, there's really no point of having it, because like once you get past a certain point, it does start to sound a little silly.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't really go higher on the audio. The audio is getting distracting. I just need to read. I read faster than 2.2.
Yeah.
I do. Like, simple as that.
Yeah.
So that's how that went.
Yeah. I listened to the audiobook. I did this tandem I did tandem or just audio, as we can see with my tabs, because there's just huge chunks where there's no tabs, and that's because I was listening while I was driving or listening when I was going for a walk. This was narrated by Emily Lou Zeller, who is an amazing audiobook narrator.
Near the end, I don't have as many tabs. Because
I think that's par for the course with us, is we always tend to have more tabs at the beginning because you're finding more interesting things, like that's
foreshadowing and
the foreshadowing, and like I'm pulling out things that are clearly like Snow White references, and then you just get sucked into the story towards the end, and it's hard to stop to take a note.
Especially this one. Oh my goodness, you get to that last bit of the book and you're just like, let's fucking go.
I opened to one of like my actual thoughtful lines.
Oh, what was one? Okay, because I've got quite a few. I didn't really
towards the very
them.
end. Queen Sybil, when she's talking to Eilith towards the end, everyone is in danger here, Eilith. Surely you're aware of that by now.
Yep.
Because that's how court works. Court it eats you alive, basically. Court is the man-eating monster.
And she has her moments too, because like if we go back to the beginning, obviously we know what's going on. She wants her sister back. She's dealing with a lot of grief, because there's a lot of discussion of like love and grief and emotions in this, because she has that bond with her sister, which is really great. I love that, like, having the representation of like a sisterly bond. It's very important within witchcraft as well. I'm a solitary practitioner, so like the witchy stuff is great. I love it. They got a lot of stuff down really well that I really loved. And but like I don't have experience with covens. I have very little experience, because the covens do exist. Plenty of people have covens. I've just never done well with group projects.
No, that's fair. And I feel like with covens, it makes sense because it's still bringing a little bit of like that community and structure that people are used to from, I hesitate, I don't like saying, but the more traditional organized religion. is you're used to community and having someone to bond with. And I liked the system they had of you have covens that aren't always devoted to one specific ancient, because they have the 5 ancients that had created the bloodstones. But obviously in the case of, and even in your own coven, you don't have to vow to that patron, basically.
You choose
ancient. You choose whoever, and so it was a little divergency in that case if you could pick which one you. Because I like the different magic systems that they had.
Yeah.
Depending on which ancient
I
you
almost wanted more because like it was kind of nice. Like
I'm hoping we're gonna get. I feel like with Eilith really coming into her power with Malum, we're gonna get a lot more of it in the second book, because that follows Heather's like trajectory with what happens. Because because did you read Mistral as well as Malum?
I only read Malice. I never got to Mistral.
So that's like So Malice built up the existing world so that, I mean, spoiler alert, but this book is like 4 or 5 years old now. Like it builds the existing world to show how Alice is shaped to be who she is, so she can tear it down, which is what happens. And
I mean that's this fairy tale too, like
exactly. And then in the second book, you see the world that she's rebuilt, and it's so much bigger and broader, and you get a lot more understanding of like the different kind of mythical creatures and stuff in that realm. So I feel like that's what's going to happen here is we see the systems that made Eilith who she is, so that she can tear them down and rebuild it in her own image.
Which I really enjoyed this aspect though, because it is showing that like, yes, you've got this misogynistic royal family, all the things going on with that, and like how horrible the king is and how this other religion has come in and they've kind of taken over, which, with the red robes and everything, I'm seeing the comparisons to like Catholicism and things like that, which is very interesting.
We write what we know.
Because I do really enjoy the aspect too, because of, the whole, like, that's more towards the end, but like still like him keeping his magic hidden in plain sight, essentially. Yeah. And I'm just like, it makes me think of Catholicism and their rituals and the things that they do, that then they're, a lot of evangelicals then tell us, witches, it's witchcraft. I'm like, you literally use your own herbs that you smoke and chant to symbols on an altar.
But no,
they're the same picture. Like
they're the same. Corporate wants you to find the difference between these two pictures. They're exactly the same.
So she does a really great job with that. And I do very much enjoy the fact that they're showing that there's corruption everywhere.
Yeah.
And that the infighting truly is what's going to, infighting can cause a lot of issues because that's what's going on. No one seems to be able to do anything about the fucking king and all of the persecution because there's so much infighting within the covens and those who are covenless. And I'm just like, damn.
I liked the element of what happened with Mathilde, with her being a wayward witch. Because
I love Mathilde.
I loved her so much because that really is that's the question of people. It's the people make the joke of like, what would the world be like if queer was the default and straight wasn't? Because that's what that is in their world, basically. In their world, to live with a mortal. I mean, it could have been anybody, but I think it's the fact that it was a man is also what made it so much more heinous for her.
Yeah,
I think
that when she was shunned.
Yeah, completely.
Like, it's crazy. But I love her so much because I wrote down, what was the line I wrote that I really love this? She said, it was just so funny. This isn't a reading, Mathilde says, and I'm dying. You have to do what I say or I'll haunt you. And I'm like, I love her.
Yep.
I love her.
Mathilde she was a fantastic character because you need that donor figure who is kind of outside of the systems a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, yes, she still is a witch. She still has her power, but she's acting as that kind of, not impartial, but as that outsider that I think Eilith needed. Because she's so caught up in the trying to fix the system from within it. And it's not working.
Well, she's stuck between that and like she's got trying to fix the system within, trying to use the bloodstones, doing all that, but like she's got the constant earpiece of Jaquetta telling her over and over again, like, this isn't how it has to be. We need to get rid of this, which is what her sister obviously also believed. Jaquetta just makes the wrong decisions
over and over and over
and over again, and that's what causes everything. So like being stuck between those systems, trying to come into your own, because she is also coming into her own as a witch. And I find it really interesting though. I did really love the witchcraft aspect too of Jaquetta though, saying I didn't vow myself to any ancestor. I vowed it to the earth and the sky itself, which is far more witchy than you're going to get anywhere else, because that's the basis of witchcraft, is connecting with the earth. And so I really loved that aspect. So, but then mixing it with all the other things, like she did it so well It's very well crafted. It all makes sense. You've got the potions, the crafters, everything. And she just, the way she wrote it, the way it's spaced out, nothing feels info dumpy.
No, it's she does a beautiful job of like what you need out of fantasy, which like and like there's a time and a place for info dumping. It depends on the book, but because her books, she just gives us so much space to learn these things.
Yep.
It's you really do just kind of jump in and you're along for the ride and you get it as you need it, which I think works really well and is why she's one of the few high fantasy authors that I will say is an auto buy for me. Is because also my brain just latches onto her writing style. I don't know what it is.
She's got a it's easy to read yet still lyrical.
No, exactly. I was just thinking that it's exactly it's lyrical but not purple prosy.
Exactly. It's like in between like common speak and purple prose. It's like a nice little in between, and it's just my brain eats it up because I don't mind purple prose in this setting.
Yeah.
I don't mind a book that's really easy to read. But like getting that sweet spot where you're just like, this scratches every itch in my brain as I'm reading. It's like Little Thieves. It's like Little Thieves.
Yeah.
Same situation there. Like the writing is just so good.
Mm-hmm.
You're engulfed.
Yeah, exactly. And she immerses you in everything.
Y'all are really good at finding really good books for us. Like we have yet to be disappointed.
We really have, because we just discussed before, what the different books were, and it's we've out of the 6 that we've done so far, only 2 of them have been nominated by patrons.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is that the math?
I think that's the math. I've done 2.
We've done 4 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
So we just did this. Hang on. You were Jurassic Park. I was Neon Gods. You were The Hobbit. Yeah, Little Thieves. And okay, I can do math. So Little Thieves was 1 patron, and then this was another. And I guess I told you this. The first book that this author published, Malice, is kind of how I formed my friendship with the patron who nominated this.
It's really great. It's a nice big full circle.
It is. And
like I said, I'm just your adopted Capricorn.
Yes, you are. So she just writes beautiful books, and I eagerly await the next one because it's so good. And it's like it's Snow White, and so like it's a Snow White retelling. So,
but I like this Snow White.
It's I love Blodwen.
I love Blodwen so much.
The Snow White character is Blodwen. She is the most adorable 12-year-old character. Because she's a princess. She has no interest in being a princess. She wants to hang out with her menageries, in her menagerie with her animals, and read her adventure books. Because she's a little girl, and like, but she's like a little girl who's allowed to. She's weirdly enough a princess who's allowed to be a little kid, which you don't always see in fantasy books.
Even though everybody's so sick of her or whatever, but she's like that because look at her dad. Look at her dad. So she has so much freedom, thank goodness, in that aspect of being herself.
Because he has no interest in her, basically. Essentially, which is not great. But
her mom, though, I do love Sybil too.
It's watching Sybil's descent is always continues to be heartbreaking because
she did that really well in comparison to Catherine, though.
Yes,
like that was a very what's the word?
Yes, yeah. You talk more about the Anne Boleyn stuff because you have more of that readily available. I have the Snow White references off the top of my head. You have the Anne Boleyn stuff.
So with that, we're in the court. Obviously, the king is supposed to be Henry VIII,
and he acts like it.
And he very much acts like it. Like this book actually makes you rethink Anne Boleyn a little bit.
So who would we consider Marion would be?
That's the hard part because he had a lot of mistresses, even between Catherine and Anne. He had mistresses. Catherine was his wife, but she had already been married to his.
She was married
brother.
To his brother, and then he died before they could.
Before they can consummate. Yes,
I know these things mainly because of Six the Musical.
Oh, really?
I mean,
you didn't have an Anne Boleyn phase?
No, I didn't. I had a Greek mythology phase. We established this.
Anne Boleyn phase. But no, yeah. So there. That's how later on in time that Henry actually tried to be able to say we can't actually be married. She was married to my brother. He tried to say that they consummated. That's how he actually tried to get his divorce, but the Pope said fuck no.
Yep.
The Pope continually just pretty much went fuck you to Henry VIII, and that's why everything happened.
That's why we have the Church of England.
It's why we have the Church of England, is all because of him wanting to divorce Catherine of Aragon and marry Anne Boleyn. Mm-hmm. So that's where I get confused because Marion could very well be Anne, but at the same time could just be another mistress. And because I don't know, are they trying to make Eilith more so the Anne? Because there's an aspect in it. So when they actually go into the palace to do the performance, and like where the king is also involved and they're all dressed up with their sashes, that is a real moment that happened in history. That's how he actually like really gets to, like comes to know Anne Boleyn, is he meets her during this and he's enamored. And that's how he starts falling in love with Anne, and that's when she joins the court, and she does actually become Queen Catherine's, one of her handmaids and everything. So that's where I get confused. I'm like, okay, is Marianne just another mistress, or is Eilith supposed to be, in the king's eyes, what we would consider Anne Boleyn? Because at the end of the day, it's still under speculation of how much the two loved each other was like in history.
Yeah.
But I am of a belief that they did truly love each other and just ended up in a situation with a very dangerous man.
Yeah.
Because Henry was extremely dangerous. He killed so many of his wives. Like, dangerous man.
There's a reason why the poem is divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived.
Exactly. So it's very interesting to look at it with that aspect, because you like I would love to know what Heather considers.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. That'd be quite.
I would love to know her input on that, but that's what I kind of.
Hey Sammy, can you send this to Heather and ask her for us? Thanks,
please, because I can kind of see it, because that's how like the king and Eilith meet, is in that moment and being temperance and everything, and it's very interesting and it's very enjoyable. It like, once again, it's that one little moment of like, okay, she really did mix Snow White and Henry VIII together, and did it really, really well, because the other religion, with the order or whatever, with the goddess, I see the goddess Mira as kind of like a Mary situation with Catholicism. And then the red robes and showing the effigies of like on the tapestries and stuff of torturing witches, which I know is a Snow White thing. Like all of it tied together is very much like she just did. It's just so I don't know what other word to use most of the time. We know this is how it is with me.
Yeah,
but
it's done very, very well. I'm trying to find one of the part interludes that had the thing from Queen.
Because I did love the moment though. The Queen says, "Fortune." The Queen uses selecting her next card. It's like a wheel, is it not? It comes up and goes down. One never knows when the next turn will occur, but it's often at the most unexpected and inconvenient moment. And I'm just like, I really love Sybil.
Yeah, okay. I thought this was at this part, but I guess it wasn't. It was the thing that she says about like this I will have a child. Like it was the witchcraft that she essentially invoked when she had Blodwen. I thought it was in like the little interlude that's on like the part header, but it's not.
Is it not? I thought it was.
I thought it was too. I guess that must be when she's talking to Eilith. This is what happens when we don't actually write down our notes.
It was a long night.
Yeah, it's we both read these very, very fast, but I wrote down.
Oh, it's right here. No, like, part 4.
Oh, it's part 4. Okay, it was one of the interludes. I was right. It's just the wrong one. Okay.
I am with child again. Given the tragedies of my previous pregnancies, Callan is cautious and distant. My physicians swarm my chambers, inspecting the food I eat and hardly allowing me out of bed for more than an hour at a time. I must be careful, they urge. The king must have his son. What these supposedly learned men do not know, what only I know, is that this pregnancy will be different. I have made sure of it. I have paid the price of blood and snow. My child will be born, not a son, but a daughter. The king will hate me for her. Let him. This realm has enough of greedy, grasping kings. What it needs now is a queen to forge a new age. In my bones, I can already sense the dawn coming.
I was looking at that page. I just wasn't reading the right paragraph.
Oh, yeah, that's all that, which the whole thing is needed, in my opinion. And that I find really interesting, because I know that Sybil is supposed to be resemblance of Catherine, but it makes me go back a little bit, though, because Blodwen reminds me of Mary. Not Mary.
Yep.
Am I thinking Mary? Yeah, Mary. Am I thinking Mary?
Are you thinking Elizabeth? Because she would.
I'm thinking Elizabeth. Yes, sorry. It would be Elizabeth. Mary technically was the actual daughter.
Yeah.
But she reminds me more personally. I'm probably wrong. It could still be Mary.
I mean,
honestly, but it reminds me more of Elizabeth, because Elizabeth ended up becoming like an amazing queen, like a crazy, like long standing queen,
Yeah. Well, because then it makes sense, though. I mean, with the way that with Sybil is, because she is the stand-in for Catherine, who was an outsider. She was from another country when she came to England, so it makes sense that
Catherine.
So it makes sense that she would be that. That's it all like, when you know that was the inspiration behind it, it all falls into place
so perfectly too. Because there's like, I would love to hear about more of the snow. I think I picked on most of the Snow White stuff, all the apples, but I really love that symbol. It's the symbols of that too, because then Sybil and all the pomegranates.
Exactly.
Oh, I love it.
So you have all of that, but like going down to like the blatantly obvious, the mirror, mirror on the wall, wake now and heed my call, using that as the way to wake the, I loved the symbolism with the witch's mirrors needing a heart sacrifice, because it does give
So
reason
good.
to, it gives reason to why there's a face behind the mirror. Like, I know Once Upon a Time did that in not the best way, but it's because it's.
I liked that
Regina
though.
was-
It almost felt like she was inspired a little bit by the heart thing from that.
Wait,
Like it
because
felt that way.
there was a moment in here that I'm sure I've written it down. I remember thinking while reading, I'm like, that's a core coded moment. Okay.
No, but seriously, same. Like there were a lot of moments with that I'm just like, this feels like Regina. This feels like that. Like,
no, it does. But with that, using mirror, mirror on the wall, using that, because people tend to use that in reference to the movie.
Yeah.
Which that is, I mean, people call it a Mandela effect. They're just remembering things improperly. Because I checked my copy of Grimm's Fairy Tales that I have.
Yeah, what is it actually?
So in the actual story, it's Looking Glass, Looking Glass.
Oh.
In the movie, it's Magic Mirror on the Wall.
I like Mirror, Mirror. I'm not gonna lie. I like it.
I think Mirror, Mirror. I think it definitely absolutely.
Well, more alliteration.
It flows better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the line from the movie, according to this random page that I found online, is Magic Mirror on the Wall, who is fairest of them all. Because I know there was more to I'm not looking too deeply into what else she uses to wake up the mirror. But so we have that very blatantly obvious. We have obviously we have the elements of we have like the hunt and everything. We have obviously Blodwyn in general.
Love Blodwyn.
We love Blodwyn. Then there's also the aspects that she pulls in with so the history of the of her grandmother's generation being killed by being forced into hot iron shoes. And then we also have the runed comb, which is an element of a poisoned comb, which was in the original fairy tale. It was she tried multiple ways to kill Snow White. One of them being so additionally also Marion with the bodice. Because with her tightening it too tightly, that was one of the ways that before she got to the poisoned apple and the sleep like death, that was the way that the first way the evil queen tried to kill her, which was with essentially it was a bodice that was just, it was enchanted to be or at least it was just tied too tightly so she couldn't breathe. But then the dwarves found her and untied it and she could breathe again. And then the other one was a poisoned comb, which same ideology.
Of dwarves.
We did have dwarfs. We had the dwarf guild. We had Roland, I love him so much.
I have a few lines from him, actually. You have the one he says, funny, I have this strange aversion to dead things. Don't like imagining myself as one of them.
Yeah.
There's another one. How do these passages work? Oh, I'm carving them myself as we walk, Roland answers dryly. Can't you see my pickaxe? It's magic. Surely you've heard of it. Like, I fucking love Roland. Like,
I'll say this, though. He has the whole thing being the aversion to dead things. I understand the ideology behind it. The glass coffin, again.
Oh, yeah.
Of actual dead people. Kind of horrifying.
She got that scary part in there, that's for sure.
She's really good at the horror elements when she needs to be.
So we get to talk about this relationship now, don't we?
We can, yeah. Do I have anything else with Snow Iris? What is this?
Yeah, do you?
I like that this is a lesson. Oh, and this is another thing about the like summons like, because I have a lot of like more like existential notes also. But yeah, we can absolutely talk about this being sapphic. Because how did you feel about the relationship? Or just in general?
First, I got really annoyed because of their back and forth. Like, I get it.
Yeah,
y'all had a teenage relationship and it didn't work out.
It happens.
You're 23 now, but let's keep that.
Yeah, and
keep that going.
I told you this, like, and this is par for the course again with the first book in her duology, with the way that her characters are set up, is even though this is, I would firmly put this in new adult fantasy, because she is she's 23. It's quite violent. There's
a scene,
an explicit sexual scene,
out of nowhere.
Yeah, it is a little out of nowhere, but I don't mind it though, honestly.
No, I'm not mad about it, but it was just very much like, I really did. I looked at Steve and I was like, hey, sex,
cool.
Like, at this point.
But given the way that, you know, in the case of Alice, the way that, you know, the Graces work, or in this case with Eilith, the way that the witches work, is she is still kind of she was having her coming of age ceremony. So she still has a little bit of that YA like mentality, even though she is an adult.
Well, she's been under essentially captivity by her own mother, though, like not really having much freedom or anything like that. So she is very sheltered in a sense. It goes back to the whole like religion and stuff. She's being taught just what they believe and only what they believe. And it takes her so much to get past that. It takes the whole book for her to go, I don't have to live how my mother wanted me to. I
Yeah.
don't have to stay within the confines of the coven.
And so much of this story, I mean, it comes down to who do you choose to believe, but it comes down to who tells the story.
Exactly.
Like, we don't know what actually happened. We only know the order side of things, and we know the coven side of things. We don't actually know what happened.
Like, we keep going, they keep talking about the war and people died and the witches and the shoes and all of that. But it's like, well, how did we get from having witches to not? And that goes into like the archives too. It's like, I hope in book 2, she really actually delves more into that, the history, if she can.
I want more library scenes.
I want more library scenes. I want that library. Like, that's how you get people to love your book. Put a big ass library in it. You're going to have book lovers salivating. Like, we can't help it. It's ingrained from us since childhood when we see Belle's library. Simple as that. Like, moment 6-year-old you sees that, you're just like, need.
And not even the big library, because I'm thinking the thing that most people fixate on is her on the ladder, which that's from the book story in her town. That's all any of us want, is we want a library big enough to support a ladder on wheels.
Thing is, I think mine, once we build it up with the IKEA ones, I think we could technically install one. But Jacquetta, and I wrote down one of the big fights that they have because there is so much back and forth. Like, they're very hot and cold. It's very much, you believe this and I believe that. And it's just, it feels a little Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
And I get that that's the point, but like Jacquetta just continually pisses me off. But then you have those moments that Eilif really, like the way that Heather wrote it, makes you also really like her in these cute moments, like her with the dog and her, all the little jokings and stuff like that. You have those moments where you do enjoy the character.
Because it's all through Eilif's lens at the end of the day.
Yeah, but then you also get that distraught, horrible feeling at the end when you find out about like the note and that she turned her in and all these things. And you're just sitting there and you're like, I liked you for 5 seconds and then you fucked it up. Like, that's how it feels.
Yeah.
But the back and forth between her when Isla says, you don't even know what you're talking about. And then Jacquetta, or do you just not like what I'm saying? Jacquetta advances. I might have left Stonehaven, but I heard the rumors about Rhea's power being too weak to mend the wards on the night of the raid. My mother thinks it's true, but there is too much pressure on her being a second. It drained her. The covens drained her. And that's really interesting because, like, with all the infighting, they can't seem to figure out something else is going on.
They all assume it's their system, and in reality, what drained her was Ignatius.
Exactly. So, like, all this stuff going on was all because of one man.
Did you see that coming?
No.
Yeah, it that's a case of it doesn't come out of nowhere. The hints are there the whole time.
And I just didn't pick up on it. I was so mad when we got to that point, and then I'm sitting there and I'm like, holy shit, this makes complete sense.
Like, but to be fair, like, because the justification they have when they see, like, they're the first time they're in the archives and they see the page that has the drawing that looks like him, and their justification is he must have just had these commissioned, in the recent years. That's a perfectly reasonable explanation given who this guy is.
And yeah, with religion, yeah, it makes sense.
Instead, it turns into what is essentially, because did you watch New Who, right? Like the new Doctor Who stuff, at least.
I know of it.
So in one
Matt
of the first,
Smith was my last I watched.
So did you watch Christopher Eccleston's stuff?
Oh God, yes.
Okay, that was the thing.
So I've watched up to some of Matt Smith.
In one of those first episodes, when Rose is trying to, like, maybe the first episode, she starts going through history and sees his face everywhere. It turns into that. It turns like, no, it's actually him.
Yeah. Like, and it surprised me. It was a happy surprise, though. I was okay with it. Like, I was like, this checks out for this book.
It's a well-placed twist because it's both satisfying and surprising, because once you realize that, you're like, oh, this was hinted the entire time. So it's satisfying, even though it's hidden in plain sight really well.
Which was like that for the whole time, though, which is crazy.
For that, with the bloodstones, everything.
Because he's like, it's the perfect disguise. He's like, I was right next to you the whole time.
Yep.
Like, it was.
It explains why he's so drawn to her.
I love it.
Like summons like.
Oh, I forgot I have another Roland line. I'll wait here, but be quick. And if you do get caught, scream loudly so that I know I know to leave. I feel like I am Roland.
I mean, Leroy is your favorite character from Once Upon a Time.
Oh, it's Leroy!
He is Leroy. They're both grumpy. He is grumpy.
He's grumpy. Oh my God, I didn't realize that. I was just enjoying his character so much.
Because he's grumpy. That's why you like
Because he's
him.
grumpy. Oh my God, my day is made.
Surprise, surprise, you fell in love with Grumpy, the side character.
Again.
Watch, the Witch Queen's going to have a Captain Hook.
Oh my God.
He probably won't.
But what if it did?
She's
a oncer, I know it.
Man, she might be. I've never talked to her.
I don't know. It felt very Regina coded at times.
No, it definitely did.
Like, it truly, there at the end, I was like, is this Regina?
I mean, it is a little bit of like, you know, if you've already decided I'm a monster, that's exactly who I'm going to become. And that is, in fact, how Regina operates.
Uh-huh.
But well, we talked about it today. If you've already decided you don't think anyone's going to love me, why not make it official?
Yep.
For reference, we're recording this the same night we're recording an episode that will come out at the end of September.
You're welcome.
We're bad at scheduling things.
No, we're good at scheduling things.
We're the best at scheduling things.
We're so good at this.
That's why we read this book this weekend.
Are you ready for our favorite part of this book? What would I consider?
Tell me.
The favorite part? Her transition?
Yeah. It's beautiful.
I am here for women's wrongs.
I literally wrote that. I don't know if you saw. I wrote that in our script. Is we don't believe in the glorification. We don't believe in the glorification of murder. We do support the empowerment of women. Because that's what that is. Because I love that because she's using that same dagger that her mother gave her, and like what her mother said is, this, you'll use this for your offering, and you know this, it's enchanted, it strikes true, and that's exactly what Sybil said to her was, when you have the chance to strike, don't miss.
I love it.
And it makes perfect sense that she would do that to King Callan because the fucker deserves it.
Because I enjoy the aspect too that they're trying to keep just this. They call it Malum, but it really is just a dark energy. It's a dark power source. But it's not a he or a she. It's a thing. It
makes sense though that like it's because we do the same thing is we try to personify or at least give identity to something. This plays into our question from our patron Kay was, what are your thoughts of her overall descent into Malum? Because it's the first time I read it, I felt like it came out of nowhere, but I think that's because I was just mostly listening to the audiobook and wasn't really like seeing
it.
And this is I would say this is an infinitely rereadable book.
Oh, I can't wait to reread this.
Like I got so much more out of it this time around than
just
I did
like
last
Little
year.
Thieves. Like this is right up there with Little Thieves and how much I loved it. I didn't cry during this one.
No, this one doesn't really have as many crying inducing moments.
No, but I did cry in Little Thieves. So
when?
So much. Half of it.
Okay.
You remember my mental breakdown?
Oh yeah, I figured that was more a case of like with the book, with the discussion. That makes sense.
No, I did cry while actually reading it too.
Okay.
Like I had some very emotional moments while reading that book. It healed something in me.
Yeah.
But no, watching her, I don't even want to call it a descent. It's an ascension. Like
it is an ascension. You're right.
It's an ascension. It is not a descent whatsoever.
Well, because I love the last couple of paragraphs, which I'll just read. As I stare into the mirror, a drop of red rolls from one of the jagged bits of bloodstone and down my forehead. Another, faster and faster until my face is coated in a mask of glistening crimson. A mask, a crown of blood, of vengeance against everyone who has wronged me, mortals and witches alike, even her. They will see the witch they rejected, and they will kneel at my feet.
It's sexy as fuck.
It's so fucking good.
It's so like I need this to be on screen.
I love that it ends with Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, who's the fairest of them all, because fairest of them all is what's been brought in with the goddess Mayra.
Which is interesting because they have the discussion within the book of what they mean by fairest.
Exactly, because that could mean anything. That could mean fair because she's just and true, or because she's beautiful. You know, there's never really a consensus on that.
I love it so much.
It's just overall, this book was written for us.
Thank you, Sammy.
Thank you, Sammy. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, the universe.
Del Rey.
You know, who else can we thank from these acknowledgments? Hang on.
Everyone.
We got Heather.
These are the books I feel that need to be hyped, though.
Thank you, Heather's agent Laura. Thank you, the editor Trisha. I'm also thanking the people in the acknowledgments. Truthfully.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
For all the work that went into it, knowing that this was her first book and like all the work that has now gone into it to put so much labor of love into this. I can just imagine how she feels about it.
Yeah.
Sammy could probably tell us.
Probably, yes. Sammy, to be fair, Sammy did offer like, hey, do you want to try and get Heather on the podcast? But there just wasn't enough time.
Like maybe another like day we can talk with her or something just for funsies. and
As
like,
a little,
put
like,
it up.
extra special, like, little thing to throw out, possibly.
That'd
"Hey,
be
Heather."
when we have time.
"Hey, Heather, you free?" "We're
When we
not, but are
actually
you?"
right? I know, I've had to explain to like husband and friends of like, I've got lots of work to do. There is no time for sleep. And it's just like, why don't you just sleep and do it later? Taking 3 weeks off.
It's not how that works. We can't do
Not
that.
how
Well,
that works.
like I told you, I did a lot of stuff on Saturday because I knew that I would not have any time to do it on Sunday. And if I
I-
did have time, I would end up doing other things, which is exactly what happened.
I procrastinated and lost sleep instead. Felt like college all over again.
Right.
I was up the amount of times I almost fell asleep too. And I was like, nope, sit back up. Keep going.
I need to remind everyone and ourselves, I think, at some point, this is a hobby.
We forgot, apparently.
Occasionally we forget that this is a hobby.
Oops.
Oops.
But
But
yeah, the end though is my favorite. I love Blodwood throughout. I love the female characters.
I
It's
love
the
her putting
men.
Callan in the mirror. It's so satisfying.
It was so good because you're like, the fucker got what he deserved. And now she has complete control over him, and I cannot wait to see what she does to him.
I can't because she also has to because Ignatius has said his thing because clearly there was a bunch of people that he trapped in mirrors. So he said that he found a way to use a glamour to get rid of like the silvery eye effect.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna assume he's got to have some kind of spell that in that layer somewhere.
Oh, that's
that
her
would-
lair now. I guarantee you.
That's her lair.
That's her lair, and I cannot wait.
It is.
Maybe you'll have some very interesting wallpaper. Who knows?
Maybe.
If she does that in the next book, I'm gonna laugh and go, "It is Regina."
It really is. But there's got to be some spell in there that like helps you like make the person seem like they're not under your control.
Yeah, because he did that with Marion. Look at her personality. She's horrible.
We have no idea how long he had her heart for. So
see, and that's another proof that it's the owner, not the dog.
Exactly.
Because I feel for her, but she's a bitch too.
No, she's a product of her circumstances. Because even she said that she didn't want to be with Callan, but when the king, it's similar to Henry VIII. When the king calls, you come. So you don't say no to the king. So
and Anne would say no for a long time. Anne refused. She said no. Tried to she turned him down time and time again until he kept pushing.
Yeah, the only bit of Anne Boleyn stuff before 6 that I really watched is I did watch some of the Tudors, but I think I must not have watched it super closely. Nor do I think I don't think I ever actually finished Anne's arc because I know for a fact I watched it because of Natalie Dormer, but I don't think I ever actually got to the part where she gets killed.
I love her.
She's so good. She was a great Anne Boleyn.
Her handmaid stayed with her body so that no men would desecrate it afterwards. That's true. That's history.
That's good.
I have a book. It's actually about Anne Boleyn. Forget the name of it. It's nonfiction. I read the whole thing. Shit, it's next to me somewhere. I can't see any. I think
I watched The Other Boleyn Girl at one point.
That is so inaccurate. It has.
I'm aware it is.
Oh my god, so inaccurate, and one of the most painful essay scenes of my life to watch. I didn't finish that movie on my first watch of it. I couldn't because why did we put that in there? Yeah, that's a brutal time
because that's how some directors decide they need drama. We've talked about this before. Men think that you need to show the assault. Women realize you can show the aftermath and it has the same effect.
Love it.
But luckily with Eilith, she gave the king what he deserves, which is
I love it.
Imprisonment.
And now she gets to parade him around.
Exactly. He's her. Well, it's the thing of that was I love that bit of it wasn't Malum, it was fate tying them to this moment, and now that he's behind that, the feeling has been sated because she's just it is a little Corella-y and some people struggle not to be pulled into the darkness, but at some point you just have to say why not splash in and have fun.
Honestly, and with everything going on,
that makes a good villain.
Her going get she was gonna let the veil go anyways, destroying the bloodstones. She was already planning to do that.
Yeah.
Once you do that and the veil's through, what's the point of holding Malum back at that point? Take your fucking power and use it for something that's good. Because if you look at everything going on around her, yes, she's going to be using that power of Malum, and she's now murderous and controlling a man that deserves it, in my personal opinion.
I see no problems with this.
I mean, either. I think at this point we'll see what she actually ends up. I see her waging a war against the Covens.
Yeah.
but
'Cause
also I want to see the relationship she ends up having with Blodwyn as it goes forward.
I love their dynamic so much because there's
Mhm.
some things with other, like, origin stories that you can see. There's like, the Disney series that they've done these kinds of things before, that it's so easy to kind of, like, almost, like, have them be in a good place and it devolves in something truly, truly horrible, and even
Mhm.
have the queen start in a good place with the king. Um, like, there's one version that I read that I think was called Ferris Duval where, like, her descent into being the evil queen came out of grief when he died.
Oh,
'Cause she did
wow.
actually love him, which I think that's a good way that's certainly a way to do this. I like this one a little more it's a little more interesting because
Mhm.
he deserves every bit of this, but Blodwyn didn't do anything.
This okay, so anybody out there who needs original movie ideas,
We got one for you.
we got one. Got a couple, actually.
Yeah.
Because people
Anything written by this
complain,
author.
honestly, and Little Thieves.
Little
Can you
Thieves.
imagine a, like, actual series, not a limited
I would
series?
say Little
Uh,
Thieves as a series would be amazing.
Little Thieves is a series, which is and, like, just oh my god, it would be so
Mhm.
but no, they don't do that.
'Cause they have such a good dynamic because she's one of the few people at court that not that can handle Blodwyn, but that, like, doesn't expect her to be anything than who she is. I think
Because
that's
that's how it was for the Coven. They could still for the most part, still be themselves because they didn't
exactly.
have misogyny and the patriarchy breathing down their necks entirely. Yeah, they had to, like, change into a sanctum and everything, but, like,
Yeah.
they didn't have men there literally breathing down their necks
No,
and getting in
exactly.
the way of their
Like,
lives.
Blodwyn, the issue with the courtly people is, like, they expect her to be this prim and proper princess who's
Mhm.
doing all these things, and she just wants to hang out with her animals and read her books, and she's happy.
And shoot
And
arrows.
yeah, and shoot her arrows. And Eilith is like, "Yeah, okay. You got
Why not?
you got a hedgehog, you wanna read a book about war? Cool." Like, so, like, I would love to see how
She's reading.
she's reading. I'm so excited to see how that dynamic shifts and what it turns into in the next book. So I'm curious if Blodwyn will pick up on the fact that her father isn't the same.
Ooh,
That's the one thing I'm curious about is how because that's gonna be involved in here somehow.
yeah.
Because this one's not gonna this one can't have the same kind of time jump that Malice had.
No,
Malice had a significant time jump, mainly because she completely destroyed the city.
that's fair.
This one, I think, is gonna pick up right where this one Witch Queen's gonna pick up, I'm assuming, nearly right where the Crimson Crown left off.
Well, because 'cause I'm curious how they're gonna do this, like, because like, can she hide Malum? Is that smoke or those tendrils, the shadows, always pulling on her? And on top of that, is she going to like, obviously, she's gonna be queen, but is she
Yes.
going to, like, just parade him around and do everything through him? How is the Order going to react and
With
act
Ignatius being gone,
with Ignatius being gone and a witch being the queen? If she's open about the witch, if she can hide Malum or not?
I'm gonna assume she can hide it.
Yeah.
That's gonna be my
She's very powerful now.
because, like, I will say this, even with Once Upon a Time, they call her the evil queen mostly just because they assume she killed the king, which, to be fair, she did,
Mhm.
but, like, not because of the magic or anything, so it's a case of, like, they may just sense something is off about her,
That's true.
and that's
Oh
where
my
the evil
god, and
queen
we have to
comes
wait
from.
till next year?
We gotta wait until April of 2026,
I don't
unfortunately.
want to.
I know,
Give it
but
now.
I would also like it now, but also I want the audiobook 'cause I have an easier time reading them that way.
I need to read Miss Rule now.
Yeah.
I liked Malice, don't get me wrong, I remember telling you I liked Malice.
I like this so much more than I liked Malice and Misrule. Misrule made me cry, but I do like this one much better. This one's, like, more right up my alley.
I love what we do and everything we do, but I'm like, I actually get to read another book now.
Yeah. So,
Instead of being
we'll
like, I
talk
should be reading this only.
we'll talk about the next book in a minute, so but out of curiosity, what'd you rate this?
I give this a solid, like, 4.5.
Fair. Yeah, it's fair.
There's still aspects that I'm just kinda like I understand when authors have to use misogyny and the patriarchy within
Yes.
a book. Fully understand it. I've used it in my own writing. Like,
Mhm.
it's a plot point. It's
Yeah.
important. It's she's actively fighting misogyny throughout this book. Some of it was just, like, a little heavy-handed for me.
Yeah.
So that's
No,
about
that's
it.
fair.
That's about like, everything else, though, I truly, truly, really, really love.
Yeah. This is still a solid 5-star for me. It was
Yeah.
the first time I read it. It maintains that because it's just it's a it's for people who I would say for people that don't tend to read high fantasy, this is a good book for them because
Oh, yeah.
it's not heavy-handed with the world building, but and the way that it's written, like we said, it's somewhere in between contemporary and purple prose. So it's just it's it's very easily readable, and it's just we don't support we not only support women's rights, we support women's wrongs. 'Cause
100%.
I'm along for the ride. She can do whatever she wants.
I want to see her tear this place to the ground.
That's what we want.
Like, just give that to me now.
Speaking of tearing things to the ground, our next book, which we'll say in the outro again, but my next pick got picked, and so you guys will probably be hearing that.
And she bought the paperback immediately.
They had it in my indie bookstore. I'm not gonna not buy it.
I can't say anything. I'm waiting on my book to get here. I already ordered it.
Well, because I have a hardcover. I also have an ebook. I also have the audiobook.
Oh, gotta catch them all.
Pokemon. Well, okay. I'm not annotating my hardcover. We've already had our conversation about annotating hardcovers. Mine is also a sprayed edge pretty edition.
Oh, don't do that to that book.
I'm not annotating this. This is paperback. I'm annotating the crap out of this. But so
that's all I
should say what the book is.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
We will be reading Lucy Undying by Kiersten White, which is a Brides of Dracula retelling, essentially. I'll read like the a little bit of the back cover blurb. But her name was written in the pages of someone else's story. Lucy Westenra was one of Dracula's first victims. But her death was only the beginning. Lucy rose from the grave a vampire and has spent her immortal life trying to escape from Dracula's clutches and trying to discover who she really is and what she truly wants. I'll stop there. There is more to it because we have her story, we have a more contemporary story that it plays off of, and everything in between. And it's just, I've been obsessed with this since I read it last year. I also read this last spooky season, so I'm happy it's coming out spooky season.
Very excited for that.
I am just now realizing one of the blurbs on here is by Katie Robert.
Really?
Katie Robert says an utterly gorgeous tale of life, love, and death.
Ooh, okay. So, I'm excited for that.
If you like vampires, and once again, we support women's rights and women's wrongs. It's similar vein. And again, audiobook is amazing. It's mostly full cast, mostly narrated by Billy Fulford Brown and Jeremy Carlisle Parker, with other voices thrown in there when needed. But which did you? I'll ask this afterwards because I don't know if the person wants her pen name said other places. You may have listened to one of those narrators before. Actually, you may have listened to both of them before. Now that I think about it, I'll tell you afterwards. After recording them.
Okay, but, weirdo.
I know these things. What can I say?
I know. I'm just like, what is going on?
I'm assuming they don't care, but I don't know if narrators want their pseudonyms for other things associated with their main names.
Pseudonyms are very often used for protection, so I completely understand.
So I won't say it in the podcast, but I will ask you afterwards.
That's fair.
Because it took me a while to realize who both of these narrators were and how much of them I've actually listened to. But they're great narrators. And yeah, sapphic vampires with MLM options.
I can't read it yet.
I know. You don't have your copy yet.
Could you stop dropping the MLM hint? Because I'm really excited. You shouldn't. We got to give it. We need to put enough time in between reading the book and recording the actual episode before we're like, watch us just be like, okay, so I accidentally went ahead and read it. We should just go ahead and talk about it.
I read it in one sitting. No, this is too long of a book.
No. But have you met me?
But I don't have the time, okay? I don't have the time.
I don't have the patience. Thank you all for listening. We hope you enjoyed the book club episode, and we hope you'll join us next quarter when we read Lucy Undying by Kiersten White. Don't forget to like, rate, and follow the podcast wherever you listen so you can be notified every time we publish a new episode. Follow us at OBDYK_pod on Instagram and Blue Sky. And if you'd like to join our Patreon, you can find the link with more details in our show notes.
This has been an episode of Okay, But Did You Know? A TV and media podcast. It was hosted by Lauren and Katie and edited by Lauren.